This is a quail, and these are quail eggs, and you're getting f***ed. I never cared about money until I lost all my money closing my restaurant. So let's talk about it. Eggs and economics. Hi everybody. Today is going to be about hard money and soft eggs. Why specifically hard money is the best asset class to put your money or to put your savings in. I had a great question of why, I say gold and silver, but why gold and silver? And also, the garden is pumping out tomatoes, so I have a lot of tomatoes, so there's a very good tomato and egg dish I learned in Vietnam, which we'll do today. You know, when you have any sort of extra money, any sort of extra savings, you can decide what the heck to do with it. You can leave it in cash and keep it in the bank, which is the worst. You could put it in gold, silver, Bitcoin, the hard money, which I'm recommending, which I can't recommend, which I personally do. I think it's intelligent, but I'm not a financial advisor, so I can't recommend anything. And or you can go with the other asset classes being stocks, bonds, or real estate. So I think it's probably best to say why stocks, bonds, and real estate aren't good investments right now, or aren't the best, in my opinion. It's easiest to start with bonds, where people always buy bonds because of the interest rate that they give you, meaning that if you put $100 into bonds and they offer a 5% interest rate, you'll get $105 back. And that makes sense. I get that. But the problem is what's going on with the economic system, how broken it is the interest rates are so low that you might only be getting 1% interest or less. I think the 30-year treasury, that means if you gave your money for 30 years to the government, I think you're getting 1.25% interest. So that means if you give $100, in 30 years, you're going to get $101.25. Okay. Well, at the same time, the government is telling you that their goal is to have a 2% interest rate. So if you're, I'm sorry, 2% inflation rate. So that means if you're only getting 1.25% interest, but the inflation that they're saying is 2%, you are losing 0.75% in value. So that doesn't make any sense. And the interest rates are only going to get lower. And then there's interest rates in other countries for different types of bonds that are actually negative. When you put $100 down, you only get $99 back. That's a whole different video, and once I found out that that was going on in the world, I was like, okay, we're in bizarro world right now. Nothing makes sense. And I was actually about to close on a property, a real estate house, not a real estate house, a house. And I was like, something's majorly wrong right now. Let me just stop this purchase. And I did. And I'm glad I did, because I learned more about what's going on, and it's going to get bad. But anyway, so I don't think bonds make any sense. Another asset class that you could be involved in would be equities or the stock market. And there's definitely money to be made if you're trading. You can catch trends, and you can make a good amount of money. There's no doubt. That's a skill set. That's a risky skill set. And I don't think most people watching this would be traders. I think they would mostly be just buying and holding, or they'd be dollar cost averaging, buying a little bit every week to increase their portfolio or increase the amount of stocks that they own. Now, the stock market will continue to go up. There's no choice. The Federal Reserve, the people who make up the money or the currency, they cannot allow the stock market to go down. They can't do it. If the stock market goes down, the entire country goes down. It's a big chain reaction. It's another video, but they can't allow it to go down. It's just not going to happen. So the stock market will continue to go up. But that doesn't mean that the value of your stocks will go up. Just because the number goes up doesn't mean the value goes up. You can look at other countries. Venezuela has one of the highest performing stock markets, I don't know, ever, but it's insane, the performance that you've got, where your stocks went up 1,000% or more, or 2,000%, but the value of the currency collapsed. This is why economics can get confusing so quickly, because we kind of have to have two different mindsets and hold them at the same time. So we can own a stock that we purchased for $100. And then we also have to remember the true value, the true purchasing power. So even if that stock goes up $1,000, it 10x'd, like you're thinking, oh crap, yeah, I did really well right here. The purchasing power may have gone down 15x or 20x. So let's say before you had $100, with that $100, you could have bought, I don't know, a new, whatever, a camera for $100. That stock went up $1,000. You think you're doing well, but your country's going through a lot of inflation, and that same camera, instead of costing $1,000, now costs $1,200. So even though your stock went up a lot, the price of the camera and the other goods and services went up even more. So you actually lost purchasing power by holding that stock. So even though the stock market will continue to go up because the Federal Reserve cannot let it go down, that doesn't mean that your purchasing power will stay the same or grow by holding those stocks. So when real estate is similar to the stock market, where we have to have these two different mindsets, we're holding the nominal value and the purchasing power. When we think about homes that your parents may have bought for, I know my parents' first house was like $30,000 or something, and that same house today sells for $200,000. Well, what happened there? It's the same house. You know, maybe it has some new tile or a new kitchen, but did the actual value of that home go up by 7x, 7 times? Did it get 7 times more valuable, or did the dollar lose its value? You know, if we look at a chart of the S&P 500, you can see that thing pretty much just keeps going up, 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 right? So if you could have bought one share of the S&P, I don't know how much it was, you know, 50 years ago, but that same share of the S&P is a couple $1,000s now. So you see that stock go up, 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 and it looks like, wow, it's performing extremely well. But if we also looked at a chart of how much cheeseburgers cost, cheeseburgers back in the day were 15 cents or 20 cents. Cheeseburgers now, I don't know, $5, $8 depending on where you're going, 15 depending on where you're going. Does that mean that cheeseburgers were a good investment? Or does that mean that the dollar is a crap investment and the value of the dollar continues to go down? Cheeseburgers aren't going up. The dollar price is going down. When you hold assets that are priced in the dollar, which is pretty much everything except for gold, silver, and Bitcoin, they are subject to the inflation of the dollar. So it's hard to actually know the true value because they're being compared to something that is constantly losing value. It's like you were trying to build a house, or you're trying to use a measuring stick to measure something, but the measuring stick is constantly getting smaller. So you think it's actually 3 feet, or maybe when you initially started, the distance is 3 feet, but as the measuring stick keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller, now it reads as it's 5 feet long, or 7 feet long, or 10 feet long. We are measuring things against something else, which is the US dollar, that is constantly losing value or constantly getting smaller in what it can buy. So that is one of the things that makes it the most confusing. It's just grasping that the dollar is constantly being destroyed slowly enough that you kind of ignore it, but now it's starting to happen faster and faster. Something I forgot to mention in the real estate area is that something that you have to factor in with real estate is property taxes. So what is the state and what is the federal government going to do as they continue to run out of money? Taxes are going up. It depends on the candidate who comes in. The taxes might go up faster, but the federal government may be able to not print their way out of it. They may be able to put band-aids on their problems for a period of time, but the state government doesn't have that ability. What the state government can do is just raise your taxes. So if you own property, you have that risk of the government just continuing to raise taxes. And we can see from every state so far, when they get in trouble, they just keep milking the people that live there. So holding real estate would make me nervous about the property taxes coming. Then I also have to consider the mortgage. You know, if I lose my job as well, there's a lot of uncertainty. So there's a lot of risk holding the real estate. So before we move on, let's get started on these egg dishes because I'm hungry. So I got these little quail eggs, so I'm going to need quite a few to get a meal out of them. So with these, I'm going to scramble them. So I'm just going to open them up first. I think I got 7 here. 1. So the egg dish we're gonna make today is some people call it like egg stir fried with tomato, or like stewed tomato eggs, or just egg tomato. It's pretty cool that I've produced everything in this dish except for the fish sauce and the rice. But yeah, definitely one of my favorite ways to eat eggs. Once I've cracked the eggs, I'm just gonna mix them up here. We just want to scramble them a little bit. I'm gonna start with my pan at about medium heat. I'm gonna put a little bit of fat, whatever you prefer. It could be oil or pork fat or butter. I prefer butter or pork fat. And at this point, if I had any shallot or onion, I would throw them in right now to start cooking with the butter. Just nice and gently, not too hot. I just want to sweat them. But I have some green onion, so I'm going to throw that in at the end instead of in at the beginning. So I just get some onion flavor. All right, so now that the butter is bubbling, I know that's hot enough. I'm going to throw some tomatoes in. Some people like to kind of have the tomatoes still chunky. I prefer that they kind of break down and sort of become more of a stew, more of a sauce. So I'm going to cook them a little longer. If I was someone who liked that still sort of chunky tomato, where I can see the individual pieces and like bite through them as I eat, then I could throw my eggs in right now. But at this point, I'm going to cook these a little bit longer until I see the tomato flesh start to break down a little bit. This is super fast, super easy dish. I really like it. And at this point I could season with salt, or I prefer a fish sauce for this. So just a tiny shot of fish sauce. That's enough. Okay, cool. Now I can see the tomatoes are starting to break down, almost getting really saucy. I can throw all my eggs in at this point. And I'm just going to keep that moving, almost just like I would do with a scrambled egg. If I want that larger egg texture, or those kind of larger egg ribbons, I won't stir it as much. If I want it to be broken up really small, I'll stir it more often. It doesn't really matter. And this one's good because you basically can't overcook it, because there's so much moisture in the tomato. It's never going to get dried out. So I could pull this at this point right now. Whoops, this pan sucks. Let me get a little bit of black pepper in here. I'll taste for seasoning. That's super good. A little bit of salt. Okay. Turn that off. I have some green onions from the garden and a little bit of Chinese celery to give it just a little bit more herbaceousness. So I'll put maybe half of that in now and fold it in. This is something that you could serve right on top of a bowl of rice, or serve it right on the side. And I'll finish that with the rest of the chopped herbs, the green onion and the celery, as I said. Maybe a touch more black pepper. Bada bing. Like, this is super good. This is a fantastic dish. And really just served super simply with cucumbers. In terms of like the ratio to tomato to egg, there's no wrong way to do it. You could easily do twice as much tomato and make it much soupier, much more liquid. That's really good as well. But maybe a good place to start would be equal parts tomato and egg. I was pretty close to that. Maybe I had a little less tomato, or a little less egg than tomato, but really you can't mess that thing up. Other herbs that I could easily toss on top, or if I had cilantro, I would love to put that on right now. Dill is another great option. Mint is another great option. Basil? Yeah, I could see that. Thai basil or Italian basil. Super simple, super great dish. Definitely give that a try. We went over fairly quickly why I think real estate stocks and bonds are not a good investment. Bonds yielding no interest. Stocks and real estate being priced in the dollar, in the thing that is inflating. So it's not a good store of value in that way. And now go in a little bit why I think gold, silver, and Bitcoin is the way to go for this. Especially if you're buying long term and not really trading in the market. If you're not trading, then this is the plug and play, easy thing to do. Usually when you're buying gold, you're buying it as an insurance policy. You're not necessarily buying it because you think the price is going to go up. Or another way to think of that is that the value of the dollar is going to go down. Because gold is gold. Gold is the same. It doesn't change. It's been that way forever. Since it's been on this planet, it's been gold and nothing else. So when we say the price of gold is going up, what is really going on is the value of the dollar is going down. When gold was $35 before 1970, and now it's $1,900, gold didn't gain value. The dollar lost that much value in that much time because gold is gold, never changes, always is the same. Usually when people are buying gold, we're buying it as an insurance policy, that if things get screwed, we still got our gold. It's something I can hold. It's something that's real. It's something that isn't affected by politics or government. It's just there, and it just is. But now we're in a situation now where it has almost two great things about it. And when I say gold, I mean gold, silver, and Bitcoin, not other cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin. It has two great things about it. One, we have the insurance play where, as I said, it is what it is. You're buying it as protection against all this other chaos that may go in the world. It's always the same. It never changes. But we're also getting the speculation play to it as well, meaning that you expect to buy it and sell it for more at a higher price later. So we can look at history and see that during these times of speculation on these precious metals, some outrageous things happen. So in 1971, when we went off the gold standard, when the dollar used to be backed by gold, and then we just said, no, not anymore. Now it's just a piece of paper and it's backed by us just saying it's worth something. Gold was valued at $35 an ounce. So 35 US dollars would get you 1 ounce of gold. Once we broke our promise of keeping the dollar backed by gold, the price of gold started going up. And from 1971 at $35 until 1980, it went up to about $665 an ounce. So it went all the way from $35 to $665. That's a 20x. That's a lot of gains. That's a lot of profit that could be made right there. And all you had to do was hold this real thing that doesn't have any risk to it, that doesn't have anyone relying on it to do well. I don't have to depend on a company hitting their numbers, or I don't have to depend on employees coming in. All I have to do is just hold this piece of metal that will never stop being a piece of metal, that will always be reliable. And the same thing with silver. Silver is always there. Bitcoin is digitally there. That is less reliable just because it doesn't have the same history, but it's standing pretty darn strong right now. What we see is during times of chaos and during times of loss of confidence and just uncertainty that gold runs and silver runs, and I believe Bitcoin will run really hard as well. And you can look around and you tell me, are we in a chaotic period right now? Are you losing confidence in the government around you? Are you losing confidence in the world powers around you? All right, let me try to wrap this up, because the problem with this is it's just so big and so complicated, and there's so much to the story and so much history that has led us up to this place of no return. Why would I own bonds that pay me 0 interest, that only pay me in a government currency that is guaranteed to lose value, when I can hold gold or silver or Bitcoin? And then when I factor in where I get the insurance policy of it, and I also get the speculation element, where the thing that's going to keep me safe, it's going to protect me, is also the thing that's going to skyrocket in price because everyone's going to be running to it at the same time. The goal I have with these videos is just to get the average person, even if it's just one person, to get into the gold, silver, and Bitcoin before all the big people run into it and the price goes ridiculously high. You know, we're at a point where if you make some moves, your life could radically change in financial terms, where your net worth could go up 5x, 10x, 20x, I don't know, it depends. But Or the other way around. If you keep sitting in cash, if you keep just holding US dollars in the bank, you're just going to get murdered. You're going to get so screwed, and your net worth could get cut in half or cut in 90%. So anyway, I hope I answered the question. If I didn't, let me know. I'll do it again. And have a great day, everybody. See ya.